a quick psychology chat with you guys if you want. I just was like earlier, I was doing dishes and had this random idea, and so I was like, well, I'm going to share it during class to get ourselves mentally prepared for the week ahead. So, my question to you before we start the week is, in your eyes, what is your biggest weakness as a trader? So, in your opinion, what is your biggest weakness as a trader? Patience, self doubt, greed, blindness, and anger. Valid. Rage, always will be greed. Lost my accounts on Friday because I felt like I missed the move, and then we got my setup, but I was already too far gone. Compare myself with others. Traded 5 minis. Jeez, damn. Just regarding my rules. Okay, so now if these are, what is your biggest strength as a trader? Resilience, confidence, knowledge, knowledge, knowing when not to trade. You are very indeed good at that, actually. Knowing when to stop. Never thought about my strengths, to be honest. Okay. So I guess the reason I'm asking is because Amy and I have talked about this a few times, but one of the best things that you can do for yourself as a trader is to play to your strengths and minimize your weaknesses, right? So some of these weaknesses are not something that we can just snap our fingers and make a fix to get rid of. So take a little bit to think about something you can do to minimize it as much as you can. And then think about your strengths and give yourself some credit for those. And try and find ways that you can use your strengths to help your weaknesses, if that makes sense. So, like for me, and just an example, one of my weaknesses for a while was I was too scared to get in because I was sizing too heavy and it messed with my head, and I didn't realize it for a while. So, what did I do is I realized that that was a negative against me, right? Okay, identified. Then I identified a positive. Well, what's one thing I do really well? Okay, one thing I think I do really well is identify good liquidity targets or good draws on liquidity. So, how do I combine the two to make a solution? I minimize my risk, meaning I risk a lot less, but then I just go for higher RR and trust my liquidity targets more. So, there it's like a 2-for-1. I've made the fear go away because I'm not risking a lot, right? So now the hesitation's gone, the confidence is back, because I wasn't risking a lot and it felt good. Then you start going for higher R. Well, that's what I've been doing because I feel like if I have a good trust on liquidity, a good draw on liquidity, that I should just go with my gut and allow that to happen. So it's kind of like just find that balance. Like, we can't be perfect, you know? So find stuff that you do well and try and find ways that you can trade that make that be like the bulk of your experience rather than letting weaknesses take over your everyday executing. I pray, but I don't meditate that much. I pray and self-reflect a lot. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that, but I guess just try and find something that you're really good at, right? That you know you're confident in, and try and play to that strength, and then figure out what hurts you the most and try and find ways to make that as minimal as possible. Like, for my case, it just so happened to be that my risk amount was messing with my head, and it was I didn't realize that it was so bad. So I'm like, all right, how can I fix this? Well, I risk less and go for higher R, because why not? So yeah, that's basically it. Actually, nothing too crazy, just something simple to think about, really. Identify strengths, play to strengths. Identify weaknesses, minimize weaknesses. But be aware of them. Don't try and act like you can make them disappear, right? You have to execute with the acknowledgement of the weaknesses. You can't just try and tell yourself that you don't have any. Because then in the moment you find out that you do, and you're not prepared for it when it happens. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Side note, we got a P15 playing out right now. Do you see trading well as submitting to God's will in a way? Good question. I don't really think so. I think if it's if it's what you want, if it's what you truly want, then sure, because then you're committing to getting yourself where you need to be. And that's what you'd want, right? Later, Beal. We're streaming AM all this week. So I had a question about standard deviation. Is it worth knowing? It's worth knowing. I don't use it a lot, but it's worth knowing about for sure. And when I say I don't use it a lot, that has nothing to do with how well it works or anything. It's just my own personal usage of it. I don't use it a lot. Yeah. It definitely works very well if you know how to use it and when to use it. But for me, I'm going to figure out how to make money one way before I start trying to do new ways. Man, whoever it was last week that told me that the chart was dark and I made it brighter, shout out to you, because it's way easier to look at. Wait, maybe it was Tiz, actually. Straight up, I think it was Tiz. No, wait, it was Leon. Yeah, it was Leon. Shout out to Leon. Gonna take some time to acknowledge my strengths tomorrow. I never really thought about it before. That's you want to know why, dude, bro. You want to know why? That's because everything throughout your life teaches you to just focus on your weaknesses and your mistakes. Nobody gives enough credit to the positive things we do. Nobody makes you focus on your strengths and the good things that you contribute. Everyone just points the finger when you do bad, but you don't get enough praise when you do well. So give it to yourself if no one else can give it to you. That's fair. I would just say if you're not going to use it as a lifestyle choice, well then use it as a way to strengthen your trading at least, right? Like genuinely, what is it about trading that I do best at in regardless or not in regards to P&L, right? Well, yeah, I already went over it, so I'm not going to say it all again, but P15 TP about to hit in 10, 9, 9, 9, 8. Focusing on strengths lets you 10x them. Focusing on weaknesses only lets you work on mitigating them. Yep. Exactly. I mean, if anything, you at least create a positive energy around yourself, right? Because you're focusing on that more than the bad things. Bro thinks it's going to take an hour and a half for this to go 8 more points. He could be right. If there are equal highs and then equal lows get made, no, we have a rule about that actually. If you're in a, let me end this video.